of all, number one, God chose us to be players on his team. God chose us to be players on his team. Look at the first part of verse 16 in John chapter 15. Jesus says, you did not choose me, but I chose you. The first part about God's draft you need to understand is that God chose us to be players on this team. Now, Pastor Dan, that baffles me. Paul, this intrigues me. I can see the Saints choosing Robinson. He's a great cornerback. I can see the Rams choosing Bradford. He's a great quarterback. I can see the Chiefs choosing Dexter McCluskey from Ole Miss. He's a pretty good running back. But ladies and gentlemen, the question of the hour is, what in the world did God see in you and that God saw in me, that God chose us to be on his team? Look at the person sitting next to you for a moment. Just look at the person. Do you believe God chose them to be on his team? Could you believe the person you're sitting next to, God chose that person to be on his team? Could you believe that God chose him? Could you believe that God chose her? Think about it, my brothers and my sisters. Why in the world would God choose us to be on his team? We were sinners. We were outcasts. We were misfits. We were doomed. We were lost. We were hopeless. We were getting high. We were getting drunk. We had issues, ladies, in our lives. Brother, we had strongholds in our life. But all God still chose us. Isn't that baffling? Isn't that amazing? And what's amazing, my brothers and my sisters, that God didn't choose us after we got our act together. God didn't choose us after we stopped doing things that we shouldn't have done. God didn't choose us after we repented. But God chose us before we got our act together. Isn't that amazing? When we were still in the world, when we were still lost, when we were still doing our own thing, God chose us to be players on his team. That's why Romans chapter 5 and verse 8 says, but God commended, God proved, God showed his love toward us, choir, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for you and Christ died for me. In other words, while we were still lying, we were still cheating, we were still snorting, we were still running the street, we were still hiding, we were still cruising. As a matter of fact, we were so caught up in the world that we didn't have sense enough to choose him. Think about it. We chose drugs instead of God. We chose alcohol instead of God. We chose gambling instead of God. We chose fornication instead of God. We chose adultery instead of God. We chose homosexuality instead of God. We chose living on the down low instead of God. We chose the world instead of God. Brothers, many of y'all chose y'all baby mama. And girls, many of y'all chose y'all baby daddy. Many of y'all chose sugar daddies and hoochie mamas. Many of us chose Beyonce instead of the Bible, Jay-Z instead of Jesus Christ, the casino instead of the church, the lottery instead of the Lord. In spite of all that, God still chose us. Listen, I can't speak, Pastor Dan, for anybody in the Northcrest Baptist Church. I can only speak for myself. Listen, my friend, I know I made some bad choices in my life. I know in my BC days when I was out in this world, I made a lot of bad choices in life. As a matter of fact, at one time in my life, I was too mean to live, not fit to die, going to hell, and enjoying the ride. And one of y'all might have been driving the bus. Let me see if you're in here. Then God did something to me I didn't deserve, and that is God gave me another chance. As a matter of fact, Northcrest, I wasn't even looking for God. I wasn't looking for God. I was in sin. I wasn't looking for God. I was in the world. I wasn't looking for God. But I stand here tonight in the Northcrest Baptist Church on this harvest night to declare, even though I was not looking for God, I'm so glad that God was looking for me, and God chose me to be a part of his team. Yes. Yes, the owner of the team looked beyond my fault, that's grace, y'all, and saw that I needed a Savior, that's mercy, y'all. So he chose us, he drafted us. God didn't look at our past failures, he didn't look at our present predicament, but God looked at our future possibilities. God didn't see an ugly caterpillar, but God saw a beautiful butterfly. God didn't see a hopeless sinner, God saw a saved saint. God didn't see a liar, he didn't see a fornicator, he didn't see a drug addict, he didn't see this. But when God chose us, God saw a preacher, God saw a song leader, God saw a choir member, God saw a missionary, God saw a women's ministry worker, a men's ministry leader. When God chose you, When God chose you, he didn't look at the mess that you were in right there. God looked at your potential. In other words, my brothers and my sisters, when God chose you, God saw our possibilities. God saw our future. That's why I'm so glad when I hear the song, and I love the song, Paul, I don't know why Jesus loved me. Choir, I don't know why he cares. I know my common background. I know where I came from. I don't know why Jesus loved me. I don't know why he cared. I don't know why Northcrest, he gave his life for me, but oh, I'm glad that he did. Oh, I can't speak for y'all. Can't speak for y'all, but where would I be if Jesus didn't love me? Where would I be, Northcrest, if Jesus didn't care? Where would I be if Jesus didn't sacrifice his life? Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad that he did. No, I wasn't looking for God, but I'm so glad that God was looking for me and chose me to be a player on his team. Yes.